Again, everyone. Welcome back to the Fandom Zone podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Charles Skaggs, back in the Fandom Zone once again, ready to talk the season. It's still a little up in the air, I think. Finale of Watchmen on HBO. And here at episode 174, we're going to obviously talk about See How They Fly. And joining me in this discussion, of course, is my fellow Fandom Zone co-host and messy bedhead wearer, Jesse Jackson. How you doing, Jesse?
I am great, Charles. We spent the day in Tyler yesterday doing some family discussion, and so we got home about 10 o'clock, and then I had kind of setting everything up. So I was watching my 2 hours of homework last night.
Right.
And so yes, I slept in a little bit because I wanted to, I had 2 great hours of TV to watch last night.
Well, you're certainly entitled to that.
Yes.
It's I don't know about you, but I'm already on Christmas vacation from work, so.
I am too. I do not go back till the 27th.
I don't go back until January 2nd, 2020.
Ah, nice.
So I told everyone in my office I would see them in the future.
Absolutely, yes.
All right. So here, like I said, episode 174, we're talking See How They Fly, the 9th episode of Watchmen season 1, or the series, who knows, aired on just last week on December 15th, 2019. This one written by Nick Hughes, who previously co-wrote the episode Martial Feats of Comanche Horsemanship, the 2nd episode of Watchmen, along with, of course, Damon Lindelof, showrunner. And this one was directed by Frederick E. O. Toye. And I'm definitely looking forward to getting your thoughts on the final Watchmen episode. Any general thoughts before we get into our trivia here?
It is a show that leaves us wanting more,
right?
But sticks the landing. If we never get any more Watchmen,
yes,
it's okay. Yes. I mean, I want more, but if Damon Lindelof's plan, and he said this very much, is he wanted to make a series with a lot of creative people that was worthy of the name Watchmen, and I think they have.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm with you. I think the way Watchmen ended.
Yes.
Before we obviously get into our main topics and really dive deep into this, I think it worked as an ending. It's a solid conclusion, and like you said, if they don't make any more, okay. Obviously, we would like more because I think there's more. I think there's a lot more to explore in this world.
Yes, I agree.
Particularly Dan Dreiberg. I want to get his story.
Absolutely.
But if we don't, okay, at least it ended strong. And I know that's kind of like this whole thing's kind of a bit of a debate right now amongst fans about, well, should they go ahead and do a second season and risk a drop in quality, or should they, kind of like along the lines of maybe True Detective season 2? I think a lot of fans are concerned about after this super strong season 1, or should they just end the series now and call it a day and say, okay, we had 9 amazing episodes?
Yeah, and I think Lindelof's has been very vocal about if he can come up with another idea that he thinks is worthy, he'd be open to it. And he has also said if another storyteller,
Right.
if another creative person has an idea, he is more than welcome. In fact, he would love to watch someone else play in this universe.
Right, because
So
then
yeah,
the creative pressure is off him.
yeah,
He would be just like what probably an executive producer,
yeah,
and
yeah,
and he could say, well, it's not my fault if it's horrible.
yeah. Well, and I think because he's first and foremost a fan,
Right.
so it's kind of like with Doctor Who.
Yes.
Russell T Davies has said, I just am looking forward to watching Doctor Who as a fan. And he's never gotten back in the creative process. So yeah, so I was really
the only
glad.
thing he did was that he wrote a Sarah Jane Adventures episode.
Right.
Yeah. So
Mm.
the death of the Doctor, I believe.
Yeah.
But this, the I know that was it Regina King has expressed interest in doing more with the series, and I know Lindelof has said that HBO wants more.
Yeah.
Because this is one of the few shows that has, it kind of dipped in the middle, but the ratings rebounded toward the finale.
Yes.
And so it's kind of like a U-shaped curve as far as the ratings have gone.
Or a horseshoe.
Or a horseshoe. I see what you did there.
Yeah.
Very clever. So apparently HBO, so it seems like the network at least would be willing to make more.
Yeah. And the beauty of this being HBO, I mean, you remember we went a year and a half, 2 years on Sopranos back in the day. So, there is a precedent of, we can wait till what we have it right. And I think it's amazing, Regina King, Oscar winner.
Yes.
And going, I want to play in this world again, but why wouldn't she?
Right.
I mean, she's getting to play a quote unquote superhero. It is a substance. There is a really good, there's a lot she got to play in this part, a lot of different, themes and dramas and emotions. So yes, this is greatness.
Yeah. And obviously, I think a lot of us, if she does end up with the powers of Dr. Manhattan after, and we'll talk about the kind of, I don't want to say cliffhanger, but that kind of Sopranos-like ending to the show where we are left guessing, left to speculate about whether she gets those powers or not.
And when we get to that, I will share that I do not think we are left guessing.
Okay.
I think it's very clearly pointed out.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that. But
okay.
But I think a lot of us would like to know, well, if she gets those powers, we would kind of like to see what she does as the new
absolutely.
Dr. Manhattan, I think.
Yes.
Or would she become something else? We don't know.
Yeah.
All right. So before we get into our main topics, I do have a little bit of trivia. Let's talk about the title of this episode, See How They Fly.
Okay.
Being a Beatles fan, obviously, I was very, I picked that up right away.
Yes.
Especially, it's from one of my favorite albums, 1967's Magical Mystery Tour, because this title's taken from the Beatles classic, I Am the Walrus. And, we had the lyrics, of course, in the song, I am he and you are he and you as you are me and we are all together. See how they run like pigs from a gun. See how they fly. I'm crying. So that's where that title comes from. And then, but also, interestingly enough, this song also features the lyrics, I am the Eggman. They are the Eggmen. I am the Walrus, goo 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 choop. So, again, we have a kind of a connection to Eggman. Like if you remember, I think it was the second episode or the third episode, they had the Beastie Boys song, Eggman.
Yeah, so well done.
So that theme, with obviously and the egg is so key in this episode, especially with the finale or the final sequence. That so it's kind of nice to that lyric actually has resonance in two different ways in this episode.
It really does, and smiley faces was the go-to thing in the comic.
Yes.
Eggs is there over and over, has been one of the things they've looked at in this series,
Like
which is very cool.
symbolism, as far as symbolism
Yes,
goes.
it is. Yes.
Yeah. All right. So some more trivia that I thought I'd bring up, if you don't mind.
No, please.
Okay, so apparently, originally when this episode was written, they had planned a second element to the finale that was going to involve the mind control device that was used that would have been used by, by Joe Keane to control both the 7th Cavalry and the Tulsa police through their masks. So presumably, it's that whole leftover Cyclops technology, the the mesmerism, as it's referred to in the series. And so apparently, eventually, Will would have gained control over that because of his knowledge of it, and would have used that to put an end to the cavalry.
Yes.
So that was it was something else that was done. And apparently, during writing out the later episodes, they dropped the mind control aspect while modifying Lady Trieu's plan to piggyback off the cavalry's.
Yes.
So I thought I'd mention that. And also, Lindelof and his team considered 3 possible endings of this episode. In addition to Angela eating the egg and attempting to step onto the pool, they also considered the one where she simply crushed the egg in her hand. Yeah. And another of putting the egg back into the carton and back into the refrigerator.
Yeah.
So, so of those 3 endings, do you think they went with the right one?
Oh, absolutely. Though there was you think about the raw egg. Oh, wait a minute, salmonella.
Right.
And then that someone has made the joke where there is someone who could think she didn't get the powers. She just got very sick.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, if Rocky Balboa can down a whole beer mug full of raw eggs, I'm pretty sure that Angela can handle 1 or 2.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, no big deal. I think a lot of people like, it'd be fine. Walk it off.
Yes.
All right, so let's get into our main topics.
Okay.
Topic number 1 I want to talk about. Let's talk about Ozymandias' escape. So his escape from the moon of Jupiter, Europa. And let's talk about, in the process, let's talk about Beyond and Lady Trieu.
Yes.
Who help him with this escape. And because I definitely want to talk about Ozymandias meeting his daughter. And see, I told you, she was his daughter. So
yes, you did. You got that right.
So I got that one right. I was very happy about that. I was all excited. It's like, I knew it. Let's talk about that, and then we can obviously talk about her plan, her ultimate plan in the process. So Jesse, first and foremost, what did you make of how Ozymandias left Europa?
Yeah. So what is very clear, at least to me, is they have established that all this time on the moon, he's been, he's just going through the motions. He is burning time. Right. He is just doing everything he can do.
He's killing 8 years, as it turns out.
To keep from going insane.
More insane, in my opinion.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just think that's really, really cool that that's what he's doing. And everything about this was just elaborate.
Right.
Just everything about this was, the trial, he wrote all the, all this has been one long play.
Yes.
Everything about it, he establishes it with the warden. I needed a worthy adversary, So I loved that explanation. Once again, if we wanted someone to explain to us what's been going on with Ozymandias, what's been going on there, check.
Yes.
That was the answer.
Yeah, exactly. Because he knew from his conversation with Lady Trieu, and we'll talk about their meeting here shortly.
Yeah.
He knew that there was this target date.
Yes.
of when this satellite was going to be in position over Europa.
Yes.
So he knew he wanted to leave, but he realized that the only way that I'm going to be able to, without barring any other help from John, from Dr.
Yeah.
Manhattan, the only way he was going to be able to get back was that satellite. So essentially, he knew he had to wait for that, and so
Yes.
he knew that he was stuck there for at least 8 years.
Yeah. And so, and I think they explain it really well, right?
Right,
That
right.
he thought this would be paradise very quickly, and we don't know how quickly it is. Was that
Yes.
6 months? Was that a year? Was that a 2 years? Whatever it was,
Yeah, whatever it was.
he determines, no, this is not heaven, this is hell, and at least purgatory.
Right,
I need to get out of this. And being the smartest man in the world, and he has a photographic memory, we assume.
right.
He goes back, he remembers that conversation. Mentally, he can do the math to go, okay, I've got to kill time. I got to run out the clock,
Right.
to throw a sports metaphor, until this point happens. And the rest of it is then just going through. And
And then
I don't,
just ticking off the days on a calendar until he can make
yeah.
his escape.
And there was the wonderful Frank Miller, Whatever Happened to the
Man of
Tomorrow,
you
right?
you mean Alan Moore?
Alan Moore, yes. Speaking of how,
Yes.
yeah, God, Alan Moore, of course.
Yes.
How appropriate, right?
Right.
Truly one of the greatest Superman stories ever written. And there is a point where, spoilers, we find out who the villain is, and it's Mixalip. I can never say the name right.
Mixalip, Mr.
Yeah.
Mixalip, yes.
And he talked about, well, to be bored, I've changed now my personalities, and now that I've decided to be evil for a while.
Right.
And so I think Adrian's like, okay, I want to be a creative person. I want to be on trial. I want to be in jail. He's doing all these different things just to keep him sane and working. And I thought that was I have not rewatched every episode again. I don't know if you have.
I have not. That's one of the things I want to do.
Yeah, I have all. I have
through
all
all-
nine
you burn
saved on
through
my
all nine.
DVR, and I'm planning in sometime during this holiday season
Right.
to just binge all of them in a row. And I think we will see when we rewatch the scenes with him, when you're looking at with that fresh eyes, it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I think so. That's one of the things I'm looking forward to using HBO on demand is to go back and kind of burn, now that I know how everything plays out, and to see little things that we missed the first time.
Yeah, like
or we didn't understand the connections at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. Like one of the things that and when we get to talk about Lady Trieu, we can discuss that, right? That talk about hiding the reveal in plain sight.
Right.
They did.
Yeah. But let's go ahead and let's talk about that. So,
okay.
This episode starts off with a flashback to November 1st, 1985.
Yes.
It's, just shortly kind of before Adrian his plan goes into effect, and with the squid.
Yes.
Because I believe that's November 2nd, so it's like the day before.
Right.
And so Adrian's filming his message to Robert Redford, congratulating himself on his inauguration as the next president, even though it's like, going to be down the road. Presumably,
like
14
or something years ahead?
I think it was 1992, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
All right. Like the year Clinton was inducted or, and elected. And so he's filming this message, and while he's doing this, there's a cleaning lady that goes into his office, and we find out, of course, later on that it's beyond Lady Trieu's mother. And what she does, she's figured out that he keeps a refrigerator of various vials, presumably of his semen. Why, we don't know. Behind this painting of Alexander the Great, who is this big source of inspiration to Adrian. Right. And she basically, she switches one of the vials out with hand lotion and uses vial 2346 to inseminate herself artificially. And she does it right there in his desk
Yes.
chair,
Yes, he does.
looking up at that painting. And
Yes.
so, just basically saying "F you, Ozymandias." So
Yes.
what was your reaction to that?
So we went, aha, there we go. That's how Lady Trieu came for. We're very well done, Charles.
Mm-hmm.
And there are minor questions, and like, why did she know that was there?
Right.
Was she just trying to, you could add a little bit, she wanted to have a child and she wanted to use the genes of the most,
The smartest man in the
smart
world.
in the world. Does it
Yes.
make sense?
Yeah.
You wonder, even though Adrian is so smart, why would he have not noticed
Right.
that when he poisoned all of the, at the end of Watchmen, he poisons everyone at the his lair or his office there in the Antarctica.
Right.
He wouldn't have done a body count and went, "Hey, I'm short one." But that's a minor quibble. I thought it was awesome.
Well, Lady Trieu points out that she's a cleaning lady. You wouldn't have noticed her.
Yeah, and then he says she was more than a cleaning lady. She was a thief.
Yes, exactly. That was a good line.
It was.
All right, so we got to see the creation, or basically, without Adrian's knowledge, of course, of how he had ended up having a daughter. So we kind of jump ahead to 2008, and Lady Trieu shows up at his Antarctic residence, Karnak.
Yes.
Pounds on the door. Adrian, he opens the door and says she wants to talk to him, but Adrian's just like, look, I don't care if you're selling Avon or what are you doing here. Just, go back to where you came from. I don't know how you got here. But she calls him out right away and she says, hey, look, you're the guy who created that transdimensional being to kill 3 million people.
Yes.
And so she knows about what he did. She knows he's responsible. And that's what gets her in the door.
And what I get the feeling is this doesn't happen every day, but it's not that strange of someone showing up there.
Yeah.
That there have been other people that have sought him out.
Right.
Because he was like, no, I can't do this. And no, you can't use my restroom.
Yes.
So I thought that was awesome.
Yeah. But actually, it's kind of when she kind of plays to his ego.
Yes, she does.
And saying that no one gave him credit for it.
Yes.
That's
moment when he was like, do you want some tea?
Yeah, exactly. So that's like, you want to stroke my ego? Come on in. Let's have some tea.
Yes, have some tea. Pet the pooch.
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, and then once inside, that's when she talks about how she's his daughter, and he's all adamant. Well, there's no possible way because I don't distract myself with physical pleasure or whatnot, and she points out that hey, she's introduces herself as Vial 2346.
Yeah.
So and needless to say that he's not very happy about this.
No, he's not. It was I really loved that whole discussion. I loved him. She's explaining what she's going to do.
Right.
And all she needs is him to stake her with, multi-billion dollars.
$42 billion.
And he's like, look, I gave away everything my parents gave me so that I could start from scratch. And, so I expect you to do the same, and I'll never call you daughter, right?
Right.
And then later she throws that back in his face when she's talking to him. I wanted you to see what I've become starting out with nothing.
Right.
So there is a,
and that's one of the things he has to kind of eat crow on in order to get himself off Europa. So we find out, we get this really cool reveal that Adrian, those bodies that he laid of all those various Crookshanks and Phillipses, Mr. Phillipses, that, he laid out those bodies and said, save me. And that's all we thought he said.
Yeah, and we saw a D,
Yeah.
And we thought it was Dr. Manhattan.
Right. And so that was the message to the satellite. Well, now we pulled back and we got to see the
Yes.
full message is save me, daughter.
Yes.
So he's essentially, and that's one of the things Lady Trieu points out is like, well, that must have really hurt you to humble yourself like that, to
Yes.
actually call me daughter.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
and that's probably what convinced her, knowing that, if he did call her daughter, that would be the thing that would get her to bring him back, rescue him from
Absolutely.
Europa.
Yes.
Yeah, so I thought it was very cool. Um, and I liked Adrian's reaction to like beyond, being a clone of her mother,
Hmm.
of Lady True's mother.
Yeah,
And
that was a great scene. Like I need to tell you something because there's a good chance he's going to say something.
yes,
And she immediately, yeah, I'm a clone of your mother.
right.
I know I'm your mother. And then sure enough, when he says, "You cloned your mother," Toji'd say something.
Yeah.
That was a really good sign
Yeah,
line.
that was really good. So yeah,
Yeah.
I enjoyed that quite a bit. So
Yeah, this was a very not only plot wise
right.
well written episode, but dialogue wise a very well written episode.
And you notice we also got the box ticked of what the deal was with that Ozymandias statue,
Yes.
where we find out, hey, it's actually him, just
Yeah.
kind of like encased in carbonite, for lack, to use a Star Wars
Yes.
term. And so he's preserved to survive the trip back from Jupiter
Yeah.
because it's going to take several years.
And she didn't want to wake him up till right when it was going to happen because she really has no interest in having a relationship with him. She has no interest in him whatsoever, except for as an audience, as someone to see the genius she's become in watching her become a god.
Yeah, and that's ultimately her downfall.
Yes.
That because her insistence on wanting an audience, even though she says, she's all adamant. You're like, you think I need an audience after Adrian or Dr. Manhattan blinks Adrian and Lori and Wade
Yeah.
out to back to Karnak. And
Yeah.
she's all like, do you think I need an audience to do this? And of course, that's why she wanted it.
Yeah. And
She
you could
stated that
tell.
she said she wanted her parents there to witness this.
And she's really angry at first,
Yes.
and then she quickly moves on. So,
Right.
yes.
Yeah. So, and yeah, I just thought that was just very well done. I really
Yeah.
liked all that, and very well written, and everything kind of fits together. So,
Yes.
kudos to Lindelof for sewing up all the plot lines, or at least all the major plot lines, at
Yeah,
least.
absolutely.
All right. All right. Let's move on to our next topic. Unless you had anything else.
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Topic number 2. Let's talk about Joe Keane Jr. and the 7th Cavalry.
Yeah.
So we essentially we kind of pick up where after Lori's been captured by the 7th Cavalry, and apparently all their higher ups have, I don't know, just they've come together for this big event where Joe Keane Jr. plans to essentially take on the powers of Dr. Manhattan, who's set up in this cage. And we get the explanation for the digital, or why all the watches were stolen by the 7th Cavalry,
Yes.
to essentially melt that down and to make that cage to contain him. The lithium cage, as it turns out.
Yeah.
So they were just after the lithium batteries, and to use that metal to cage Dr. Manhattan. And Joe Keane Jr., he does this little speech. He's basically monologuing. He's doing
Yes.
essentially, he's
the Republic serial bad guy
villain. Yeah.
that is often mentioned in Watchmen, both on the TV show and the comic. Yes.
Or Syndrome from The Incredibles. Take your pick.
Yes, absolutely.
Where he's monologuing. And so he gets into his Dr. Manhattan underpants.
Yes.
And strips down except for those.
Laurie says panties.
Yes, panties. Yes, exactly. So just to rile him up. And he's really into this. He's playing to the crowd. He says, hey, let's get blue. And the idea is that all of them will gain this power. him being the first, right? So he steps into this tube.
Yeah, and I don't know if the plan was for all of them to be.
Well, he kind of said that
he
kind of hinted that there were, but
yeah. So I want to talk just for a
yes,
few minutes,
right.
Charles,
Yeah,
about the Russian doll of of Angela not getting killed in the White Knight.
right.
Okay, so she's not killed. There's
Yes.
somebody standing over her, and we cut to she's in the hospital. She survived.
Right.
So our first thought, you pull the top of the Russian doll, and there's a smaller doll under there, is that Judd was that White Knight, killer.
Yes.
And because he cares about her, he decided to let her live. That
Right.
was my first theory.
Right.
Then we pull another Russian
Which
doll.
is a very obvious theory. So
yes.
Understandable that you went there. Yes.
Then they later, when they're explaining, when Adrian is saying, you won't be able to use your powers except unconsciously. And so then when we see a god walks into a bar, we go, oh, that's how Angela survived. Oh, I see what you did there. Well done. That's the last doll, because there's a twist. But no, there's one more twist.
Yes.
That because he moved the person teleported
to Gila Flats, New Mexico.
Yeah,
yes.
That was the clue that gave Keene and the
7th Cavalry.
The idea that, hey, maybe Dr. Manhattan is existing in that. Let's watch that. Yeah. And I just love the way.
So right off the bat, they're suspecting that Cal Abar is Dr. Manhattan.
Yes.
So essentially, what Judd's purpose was to kind of keep an eye on them.
Yes.
For the 7th Cavalry. So he's not nearly as noble as we kind of. Or not nearly as a good person as we thought he was.
No, we really did think that they cared, and that was why him and his wife, loved them, treated them like family, and then there's that. I did not write the note down, but when Keene Jr. is like, are you going to watch this, or do you just want me to kill you like the blank witch you are?
Right.
So, so you don't have to watch this. And that was just so evil.
Yes.
You know they're evil, but gosh, they're evil.
Right. Now, ultimately, they end up meeting their end because, of course, Lady Trieu is completely hip to what they're doing. And even after Angela warns Keene and the others, hey, Lady Trieu is responsible for what, she's behind everything. So if I were you, I would not use that machine. And of course, they're just ignoring her, going, well, look, we're doing this. If Lady Trieu was behind this, she would have been here already. Where is she? So he steps into the machine, ends up turning into a pile of goo.
Wasn't that a great reveal by Lady Trieu? Lady Trieu is a great character.
Yes.
I know she is the villain, but I love her when she's like, where's Senator Keene? He's not in there, is he?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Like, she is actually shocked.
Very theatrical about it.
Yeah. Like,
I don't think she was honestly shocked. I think she was just winding everybody up.
Really? I thought she was.
I thought she was just playing like she knew.
Okay, I like that better.
Yeah, because it's kind of like almost like pantomime where she's going, he's not in there, is he?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like putting her hands on her face. Oh no.
Oh no. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
So I have to think she knew that. But so, because she makes this comment about like, you're going to do this and this by doing it this way, you're going to end up a big pile of, you're going to pop.
Yeah.
Like a balloon, a water balloon. So I had to think she knew about that. But, and then she threatens like, she starts going into this speech about how, the site that they're on is actually the site of the 1921 Greenwood Massacre. And talking about how all that they've plundered and pillaged and murdered in the name of white supremacy. So Lady Trieu is just like, okay, look, here's where I teach all you horrible racist white people a lesson. And Jane Crawford, Judd's wife, is just
Boy,
she's just
or
like, will you get on with it? You're like,
yeah.
you're gonna kill us, right?
Well,
And,
and we've
they,
established that already, right? Like
yeah,
when Lori was talking to her,
yeah,
she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Am I not supposed to admit that?"
yeah, exactly. Kind of flipping it back on her.
Yeah,
And then Lady True, of course, is just like, of course I'm going to kill you, and
yeah,
freaks everybody else out.
and she immediately does.
Yeah, and she immediately, basically lowers these, like kind of for whatever reason, intents and purposes, laser beams and
Yeah,
disintegrates them and takes them off the board. So, so that's kind of their end of their story. So, yeah, the Joe Keane had originally started to, he wanted to be president. Then they came up with this plan. They found out about Dr. Manhattan. They're like, oh, let's try this instead.
hmm
I want to know where they got this group of white supremacists got all this science
yeah.
to do all this. Like, who did they recruit to make this happen?
I assume that there is,
Unless Lady True was like the power behind the scenes and manipulated them.
yeah, and it also could be that there are certainly nationalists and white supremacists, in all kinds.
Yes.
I do want to applaud Frances Fisher playing Jane Crawford. She is amazing in that role because she can be so likable, and to see her doing that is just greatness. The other thing I do have a question, and it's a minor question.
Okay.
Is I assume that how did Lady True know how to get to Will, Angela's grandfather? How did that connection happen? Because I assume he knows about Cal because of the bootstrap paradox that we've determined.
Right.
So we don't know, at least I don't know if they've explained how Lady True and Will Reeves connected. Do you know how they connect those dots?
The only thing I could think of is that maybe Lady True found out that Will Reeves was hunting down the 7th Cavalry.
Okay, yeah, could be.
That's the only thing I could think of.
Okay.
But
I mean, it's not important because that's how
they might have explained it, but maybe I didn't pick up on it. But
yeah, and maybe when I rewatched, because she wants to become a god because she thinks she can do a better job of it.
Yeah,
and
or maybe she found out about him because he's the genetic relative of Angela.
Yeah,
and because Angela is the wife of Dr. Manhattan.
But how would she have known he's Dr. Manhattan without the information from Will Reeves?
Yeah, that's a good question.
So it's a minor nitpick.
Yeah.
Because
it could have been clear, it could have been a little clearer, but their relationship.
That's the only reason I'm thinking of it is because you and I are talking.
Yeah.
If you and I weren't talking, I wouldn't have thought at all. Because
this is why we need season 2. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, this is because she wants to be a god,
right?
And she could care less about the 7th Cavalry.
Yes,
but her agreement with Will Reeves was, okay, you help me this way, I will destroy. And he has been wanting since, he first became a cop in the 30s,
right,
to fight this. And so
this is something he's
really
been obsessed with over the course of his entire life.
Absolutely. Which I think leads us to our third topic.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about Adrian, Lori, and Wade.
Yeah.
And definitely want to talk about Wade because we find out, hey, he did survive that attack by the 7th Cavalry in his house. And, we got the hint, from Dale Peaty in one of the previous episodes that, he took one of the masks. So we figured he's infiltrated the 7th Cavalry. So we find out, yes, he did. He's right there, and he maneuvers his position to right by Lori, lets her know that he's there, and tells her to stay cool. He'll get them out of this when the opportunity arises.
And how much did you smile when she goes, "Mirror guy,
Yeah.
looking glass"?
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah, you think of like he would go like, "Look, I'm rescuing you. You might want to stop, giving me
mhm.
crap about this." So,
so, um, so I went back. Joanna Robinson is one of my favorite bloggers. She works for Vanity Fair. She is a great podcaster. She did a great Game of Thrones podcast, and Still Watching is one of the Vanity Fair podcasts, and they did a single episode on the pilot of Watchmen,
right.
and they're covering other shows, and they said at the time they didn't think they would be able to watch some other shows, but in one of that very first episode, she interviewed. She had an interview with Tim Blake Nelson,
Yes.
who plays Wade.
Yes.
And the behind the scenes story is originally Lindelof said, I don't know if this part is big enough for you to play, someone with your caliber.
Okay.
And Tim was like, okay, no, he did not say that.
Right.
We just weren't sure. And then later they came back and said, wait a minute, the way the story is breaking down, I think this will be something interesting for you to play. And so I think, as much as I loved Wade and I was upset we hadn't seen him in so many episodes, I think that was really well done storytelling to get that reveal.
Yes.
Where he is behind Laurie and goes, "Don't look back. I said, don't look at me." and for him to, of course, how perfect. When was the last squid fall? 3 weeks ago. Because Obsessed Boy, of course he's going to know.
Exactly. And so he plays his part and so he gets paired up with essentially Adrian, or he gets paired up with Adrian and Laurie when they all get teleported back to Karnak because of those remains of Joaquin Jr. Oozing out of that tube, this big bloody ooze, and it trickles into Dr. Manhattan's lithium cage.
Yeah.
And he's apparently able to use that as a conduit to
Yes.
teleport Laurie, Wade, and Adrian to Karnak so that they could defeat Lady Trieu. Trusting in Adrian's ability to be able to come up with a way to stop her.
And that's one of my quotes.
Yes.
We'll talk about.
Yeah, but
go ahead.
But I'm just gonna say, he's able to, he knows, like you said, 3 weeks ago there was a squid incursion. So essentially that way he knows, that he finds the chamber where he sent the squid from 1985, so they use that knowledge to essentially rain baby squids down on Tulsa, or at least down on top of that site, but they're frozen. So essentially, it's essentially like a really nasty case of hail coming down from the sky.
Yeah, there's pea size, golf ball,
right,
softball size. Now we have squid size hail.
Well, and apparently the speed of them of their falling is so powerful that it like one squid goes right through Lady Trieu's hand.
Yes.
So that she can see right through her hand.
And I believe that not as many people died as Adrian thought they were going to. I think a lot of people were able to get in their cars.
Right.
And that was I've been unlucky enough to be caught in a hailstorm once, and it just sounds like bullets are hitting your car, and but it's dented up to heck.
Yes.
But it goes through the glass, but it doesn't go through the metal. So I think that's why Red Scare and Pirate Jenny and others were able to survive.
But if you think about it, I'm kind of wondering, this is more solid than ice, presumably.
Could be.
So, which is why it went through Lady Trieu's hand.
Yes.
They're essentially, it's like a hail of bullets. Like Adrian says, it's
Yeah.
like a Gatling gun from the
Well,
heavens.
and how appropriate is the stigmata looking
Yes.
on someone who wants to be a god?
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
That was
I'm sure that was
deliberate.
intentional. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So,
And how wonderful is Adrian reruns? I'll show her reruns because he was all insulted,
and that's what he does. He uses that to defeat her.
Yes,
with the whole squid. He teleports the squid.
Again,
yeah.
Once again, like I said, plot wise and dialogue wise, they just stuck the landing on this.
Yeah.
It just so many closed loops and like I said, I know when I watch this, I'm gonna go, God, they pay off so many things.
Yeah. Now, obviously, afterwards, Adrian takes Laurie and Wade to the Archie, the owl ship that he found out in the Antarctic.
The original
one.
The whole.
Yeah, this is Dan and Rorschach. Where they traveled to Antarctica back in 1985, and the ship, became disabled, and they had to walk to Karnak, or travel on those little speeder bike things, and that Dan had in the ship. So, Wade says he knows how to fly it because, hey, like we talked about, that the police adopted that technology.
Yes.
For their own airships. And then Laurie tells Adrian, "Well, thanks for helping save the world this time, but you're under arrest. You killed 3 million people, dude."
And there is no statute of limitations on murder.
Pretty much. And then so Adrian's, "Well, you don't have proof." And Wade pulls out his handy little DVD going, yep, got proof right here. Now, why Adrian didn't take it from him and snap it, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Maybe Adrian, and I think possibly knowing what we know about Adrian, he wants to be put on trial.
Yes, because then the world will know what he did.
Exactly.
And he is confident enough that the good outweighs the bad, and that after enough time he'll be found not guilty. But even if guilty, he's just glad to be back in life. Yeah. So I think that's
it's Adrian's ego. He wants the world to know this. So again, this is another argument for Watchmen season 2, because I want to see the trial of Ozymandias.
I was just thinking, absolutely, that would be, hey, if you're listening, Damon, the trial of Ozymandias,
Dan Dryberg,
flashback.
Dan Dryberg, he's got to come into play.
Yeah, flashback to them stopping the bombing of Oklahoma City, which led to that. I think we could see
there's material there for season 2.
Yeah, there is material, absolutely.
I think so. So hopefully they'll realize this, but we'll find out.
Yeah.
All right. If not, no big. I mean, we understand, but
sure, absolutely.
Still can't help but think, there's more here.
Absolutely.
We need to see.
Yeah.
All right. And of course, Wade's the one that knocks out Ozymandias.
Yeah, he talks too much.
He talks too much. Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
That was just great.
All right, so let's move on. Topic number 4: Angela, Will, and Dr. Manhattan. Okay, so
Charles.
Yes.
How wonderful. The original Watchmen starts out to be, it looks like a murder mystery.
Right.
And ends up being a story about power and corruption and all these other things. This one starts as a mystery, and it turns out to be this classic love story.
Yes.
And how emotional. Why didn't you send me? Because I don't want to die alone.
Right. Yeah.
Greatness.
Yeah. So did it shock you that Lindelof killed off Dr. Manhattan?
A little bit. I really, because I said in last week's episode that his very first trick.
Maybe he's not dead, but as far as we know, he's dead.
The very first trick was putting back together.
Yes.
And so this is timey-wimey, but I believe he dies because he's always known this is how he dies.
Yes, exactly.
I
Well,
mean, you know,
he told Angela this ends in tragedy.
yes,
So the tragedy, of course, being his own death.
yeah,
But he's not going to reveal that to Angela just yet because he has to
yes.
let it play out.
And I love that scene where she keeps. I love "Where Are You Now" because that was mentioned a lot in a God
That was a
Walks
great
to a Bar,
line. Yeah.
and then he goes, "I'm reliving every moment of us together," and they flash forward a lot of the snips from the TV show,
Right.
and just you see how happy they were for that 10 years.
Right.
And someone who says she didn't want a family ends up desperately needing a family, and she ends up having a wonderful loving husband, and she ends up getting her grandfather back, and she has the 3 kids afterwards. Really nice ending to that.
Yeah, I think so. And that there's a nice little great sequence where Angela goes back to the Dreamland Theater.
Yes.
And if you notice, there was some damage to the sign.
It said Doctor.
It says Dr. M. So
yes.
it takes the word Dreamland.
Yes.
And it just the only letters that survive are DRM.
Yes.
So Dr. M.
And there's something about end is unhighlighted. You know.
Yeah. Exactly. See. Yeah.
So well done. They establish that.
It brings Will's story to a close.
Yeah, and they establish that these phone calls, these phone booths are everywhere, and so that's how, when Adrian says, "I hope there's no one you care about,"
right?
Lori thinks and goes and calls the booth that is near that, in that, that
location, yeah.
Yeah. And which we've seen multiple times, and and I love that it's for you.
Yeah,
and,
from beyond saying that to Angela,
yeah, that was just wonderful.
Yeah, and so, Will's talking to her. He talks about how this is the exact same spot he was sitting in 100 years ago when he first saw Bass Reeves on screen that started this whole thing.
Yes,
and so his life is becoming full circle at this moment.
Absolutely.
And he talks about tells her that you can't heal under a mask. We can do the quotes later, but
yeah.
He says that John wanted it this way because he says you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs.
Yes.
So again, more egg metaphors here.
Right.
And saying that essentially, you can't create something without breaking something.
Yes.
And that's kind of what John is doing here. Even though he loses his relationship with Angela, he's, as we find out at the end of the episode, he creates something more from that.
He does.
From that. And and Angela invites him to stay for a couple of nights.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, she's really thought about like, hey, this guy hung a lot of people. Do I really want him around my kids? But I guess it's okay because he hung racists.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It just seemed a little odd. Like, okay, he's a murderer. So do you really want him around your kids? But okay. And so Angela takes her family to the bakery. She lets them inside her secret vault. So here's Angela finally coming clean to her family about her secret identity. What did you make of that?
I thought it was great. I think her son seeing
Topher,
the costume, foreshadowing maybe he'll grow up to do. It's always trauma.
Right.
A childhood trauma leads you to be a costume hero in this world, I guess, in almost any comic world. And you get the feeling she's never going to be Sister Justice again.
Sister Knight, yeah.
Sister Knight, yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That it was really nice, and they, and so they get through that, and they're driving home through all the destruction, and it just is, what's coming, or at least I did.
Yeah.
Because with all the eggs, and you think of, we've talked about, you're going to remember that I was walking on water.
Right.
You're going, and we remember
the whole business
when,
with a pool. Yes.
yeah, and you know when he was trying to make waffles, she smashed the carton of eggs on the floor.
Right.
And so you see what's coming, and I think it's a great reveal that you open up, she's cleaning up, and there's one egg unbroken.
Right, exactly. So
miraculously.
Exactly. So she looks at this egg, and she kind of ponders this for a moment. This is after Will had told her, like, I'm sorry, Dr. Manhattan was a good man, but he could have done more.
And I thought that was a great little line, like,
right. Because he could
good
have.
Man. Yes.
He's right. And, he had all these vast powers, but how much did he really better humanity with them?
Right.
Or better the world? And so Angela goes out in the pool, and she kind of looks at it and then makes the decision to eat that egg. She cracks it open, downs its contents, maybe with the intent that she can do more than what Dr. Manhattan did for the world. Mm-hmm. And then she takes the precarious step onto the pool, remembering that moment that John told her to remember, like, remember me walking onto the pool. It's important.
Yes.
And so this is how she's going to learn if she has John's powers or not.
Right.
And we get that big, like I said, Sopranos cutaway, fade to black. You almost expected, like, don't stop believing at that moment, but it doesn't happen.
So I need to tell you a story that...
Instead, we got the cover of Eye on the Walrus, which works much better.
So I have been a fan, and I've shared on this podcast, the official Watchmen podcast. After you listen to us, you should go listen to it. And Lindelof talked about that he does not think of this as a cliffhanger ending.
Right.
And I'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
Of why he doesn't think it is. But he needs to tell the story of he was at a movie theater several years ago, and it was after the movie, and he's going to the restroom,
right.
And they were talking about the movie, Nolan's movie, Inception, right?
Yes, right.
Yes. And two guys are going... They're talking about the jack spinning, the top spinning.
Yes, yeah, that was that kind of ending, where you weren't sure if he was still in that virtual reality or not.
And he says, one guy says, that was the greatest ending ever.
Or I mean, that dream reality.
Yeah, I love that ending. And the other guy goes, you're kidding? It's a cliffhanger. It didn't give us the ending.
Right.
I hate that. And Lindelof had said in his mind it wasn't a cliffhanger. In his mind, he knew the decision. He knew what that meant. And he says, so when I say we didn't mean to leave this a cliffhanger, I get why it could be to others. He said, but and he says, and I'm not going to say anything different because the TV show should speak for itself. But all I'm going to say is, so I'm going to ask you first. Do you think it's ambiguous?
It is ambiguous, but I feel that because it's ambiguous, it's going to make this series more memorable.
Right.
Because fans are going to be debating this, for whatever, at least until the next season, if we ever get another season of Watchmen. So because of that, it's going to stick in people's heads. They're going to be bantering this back and forth. And it's nebulous, but it gets you thinking about it, and because of that, it sticks in your memory more, I think.
So and this is very like the Rorschach Journal showing up.
Yeah.
And they did not give us a solid ending. Is that going to be printed or not? You could do it. So I think that's very much in the spirit. So
I think you're absolutely right about that. That's a great observation.
So here is. We've established in God Walks to the Bar, he could put all his powers in an egg. He flat says that.
Yes.
And how miraculously are all the other eggs smashed and this one egg not smashed? And then why would she be in front of the pool after him mentioning it? I think the implications is very, very strong that, yes, she becomes the new
Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah, Sister Manhattan, I guess.
Sister Manhattan.
Yeah.
That works.
Now, I do think one of the funniest tweets I've ever seen is someone tweeted the promotion shot that came before Watchmen with Regina King in costume in a blue shade. Have you seen that picture?
I have not seen that.
I will tweet it under her thing. Yes, there is a picture of her as Sister Night.
Right.
And she is blue.
With a blue filter.
Yeah. And it's like, okay. And so someone made the joke, well, marketing gave the ending away 3 weeks before the show started. So
that's funny. That's funny.
All right. I love that ending. I thought it was so perfect. And yes, I'm sure that a lot of us would I wanted to see that scene, or I wanted her foot to start turning blue. But the way this came out better.
Well, if you notice in some of it actually has a little bit of a blue filter to that scene.
Yeah.
Because I've seen some stills of that image of the foot.
Yeah.
And there is a little bit of a blue filter to it.
Yeah. So I just love this.
Yeah. So as far as I'm concerned, they stuck the landing on this one.
Yeah.
Obviously, that was our main concern going in. Well, they've got all these great ideas. Are they going to be, and with a lot of, especially after Lost, a lot of people are still skeptical about whether Lindelof can pull it off. I think he pulled it off.
Oh, I think so too.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else about this episode?
So, Pedia.
Oh yeah, let's do a little epilogue there.
Gives us the answer of who is Lube Man.
Lube Man revealed.
Yes. Now, they don't spell it out. But Petey is missing.
Right.
He has been fired from the FBI, and all the stuff at his desk you can come get, including some kind of.
The director is pissed.
Yes, he is.
He's really pissed, and he talks about how he smashed up, took some pleasure in smashing up Nine Inch Nails CDs.
Yes, because my grandson likes this kind of trash.
Yeah, and of course Trent Reznor is, and Atticus Ross, they were the composers from Nine Inch Nails.
Yeah.
So it's really a nice little nod there. But yeah, he's livid. He says Petey's fired from the FBI, and take whatever you want. But he took his badge. He's done. But for right now, I don't know where he is. And for whatever reason, there was a bottle of lube in his office.
Yes.
And so right there, we kind of get the implication that, and apparently, if you click, there's a word that you click on the memo, that it in the memo title or whatever, and it brings up a wanted photo.
Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, I need to see that. Okay.
Yeah. I'll give you the information later about how to look that up. But it's this cool wanted poster of Lube Man wanted, and so basically using a police sketch of him, and I just thought it was really funny. So essentially, we get indirect confirmation that Dale Petey was Lube Man, the guy that we kind of wondered about who that guy was that slid into the sewer. And apparently they really did that stunt. The stunt guy actually did that.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yes. So that's cool that they really did that move. So again, here's another thing for Watchmen Season 2. We need the return of Dale Petey as Lube Man.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's right there. There's your season.
And there's a whole debate.
We laid it out for you.
I love seeing Lori seeing John again, and you could see she still cares about him. Obviously, I think Dan and her had a good relationship and were in love, but I think
they had kids together.
Yeah. This is. I like this. I liked the idea that this all coming together was really well done. There's so much about this show I just really love, and I'm looking forward to watching it again and kind of seeing everything together.
Yeah, I think so too. So yeah, it's gonna be fun rewatching everything.
Yes.
Yeah, great. They stuck the landing. Well done, Damon Lindelof and team.
Yes.
Good job. You did it right. You did it. You were worthy of the original, in my opinion.
Yeah, and he stressed that this was a very collaborative. His writers' room was very diverse.
Right.
They all were doing together. He did say that one of the women writers came up with the elephant, and for the very reasons you came up with, Elephant Never Forgets, that they were saying that person is, whatever is connected to was the deposit of all those memories. And so, well done. I was another thing like, yes, right. Another thing Charles got right. Yay. Okay.
I don't get much right, but every so often I get something right.
You do more than you want.
Okay. Like Lady True's origins. Yeah. I got that. All right. So what's your favorite? I know we're running long. What's your favorite quotes of the episode?
So I'm going to start with one, and then I'll let you do a couple. Okay. When she says, "You look stupid in those panties," and Senator Keene, by the way, the actor, Wolf, I think,
James Wolk.
Yeah, James Wolk is just great in this. So countrified, and I'm about to come the most powerful man alive. Waving my blank in people's faces is just overkill. Yee-haw! Let's get blue.
Yeah,
I loved that. What do you got?
Yeah, can it get more redneck? I don't think so.
No, you couldn't.
Yeah, I liked Lady Trieu confronting Ozymandias in Karnak, where she says, she's talking about the alien squid. She goes, "That's its brilliance. A giant alien squid to stave off nuclear holocaust. Only the smartest man in the world could come up with that. And no one ever even gives you credit for it." Ozymandias says, "Who are you?" Lady Trieu replies, "Well, Mr. Veidt, I'm the smartest woman in the world, and I just wanted to thank you for saving it." And of course, Ozymandias' next words are, would you care for some tea?"
Yes. I've got a couple more. I'll just real quickly.
Go for it.
Am I dead? With Laurie asks after she says, "Adrian?" He's like, "Am I dead?" "No, but the night is young."
Yeah, that was good.
And then I love the after they get teleported, where did he send us? Why did he send us to your office? For us to save the day, of course. That's fun. This dum-da-dum was just great. How about you? You got a couple more before we move on to ratings?
Yeah. So Adrian says, this is where Adrian and Wade and Laurie are in, trying to, during the whole sequence where Adrian's trying to retaliate with frozen squids.
Yeah.
Adrian's talking about Lady Trieu, and he says, "She claims she's going to fix the world." And Wade says, how do you know she won't?" And Adrian, hello, Crypto. Adrian says, "Because she is clearly a raging narcissist whose ambitions knows no limits. It's hubris, literal hubris. Anyone who seeks to attain the power of a god must be prevented at all costs from attaining it. But believe me, that girl will not rest until she has all of us prostrate before her, kissing her tiny blue feet." And Laurie says, "Raging narcissist, huh?" And Adrian replies, "Opus esse unum cognoscente. It takes one to know one."
Perfect. I'm so glad you captured that. Yes, it just he is at least self-aware to know that she the apple does not fall from the tree. Yeah. So yeah, well done.
And then lastly, of course, Will says, "You can't heal under a mask, Angela. Wounds need air."
Yes, well said.
So what's your rating for this one?
So I have so many I want to use, but I'm going to end up using 10 out of 10 catching bullet tricks.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So I like the previous episode better than this one.
Okay.
but I thought this was solid. So I
Yeah.
give it a 9 out of 10. Unbroken eggs.
Nice.
So
I almost did thermodynamic miracles.
right, that's a
Yeah.
good one too.
Yeah.
Yeah, thermodynamic miracles. But I think this one kind of rushed a bit because
Okay.
it had to wrap up so many things.
And it was a
Uh,
little bit longer.
yeah, it was a
Yes.
little bit longer, but I think the pacing could have been a little bit
I
better.
think that's fair.
So I think that's why I dinged it for 1. But otherwise, such a strong ending, um, and they obviously stuck it. So I got to give it
Yeah.
props for
I
that. All
I
right.
I I want to just emotionally give
Yes.
the whole series 10 out of 10, but I would probably, because very few things are absolutely perfect, but I would give this definitely 9.5 out of 10 as a series. This is
As a
truly,
series, yeah.
yeah, this
Yeah.
is, this, this is truly greatness. I mean, this is something HBO should be really proud of, and I would think it would do very well in the Emmy nominations. I don't know if it'll win
It
because
should do
it be there,
well.
but it should do very well. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, whether it will or not, we don't know.
Yeah.
Probably not. They'll probably overlook it, kind of like the Emmys overlooked Twin Peaks
Yeah.
and lots of other
Yeah.
shows. But fingers crossed
Yeah.
because it definitely deserves it.
Absolutely. Any
All right.
Phantom Zone news?
No Phantom Zone news because we're running a little bit long.
Okay.
But we got to get back on track because we
Yeah.
have another podcast
Yes, we
to
do.
talk
Yes,
about.
we
What's
do.
it? So what's your but we definitely want to hear from you.
Yes.
In the meantime, so if you want to drop us a line, we definitely like to hear. Drop us a line at phantomzonecast@gmail.com. That's phantomzonecast@gmail.com because we'd like to know what you thought about Watchmen and also want to know what your thoughts on the upcoming Crisis on Infinite Earths parts 4 and 5.
Absolutely.
Or anything else comic book TV related. We'd definitely like to hear that. So drop us a line there. Or you can reach us on Twitter at PhantomZoneCast, Facebook, the Phantom Zone Podcast, of course, and Instagram at Phantom Zone Podcast. Jesse, how about you? Why can they reach you?
So you can reach me at Jesse Jackson at DFW. You can hear me talk about Doctor Who with Charles on Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast. We are going to have a Christmas special soon, and
Yes,
we
we
are
are.
gearing up for New Who in 2020, not 22. Yeah, 2020. Yes.
There you go.
So we're very excited about that. We are ready to get back in the TARDIS with Jodie and the gang. And then you can also hear me on Set Listing Bruce, the Bruce Springsteen podcast, where I talk to Bruce Springsteen fans from around the world. Charles, how about you?
Of course, at Charles Skaggs on Twitter, at Charles Skaggs on Instagram, if you want to follow us in the meantime. Also, Facebook, of course, Charles Skaggs in Hilliard, Ohio, and my blog, Geeky Things.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Damn good coffee and hot, where I talk about all the stuff we talk about here on the Phantom Zone podcast, including Watchmen, including Crisis on Infinite Earths, all kinds of comic book sci-fi news. I'm hopefully going to get my review of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker up shortly, so please be on the lookout for that. And also news of my other podcasts for Southgate Media, including the aforementioned Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast that I do with Jesse and other special guest companions.
And if I remember correctly, you're saying don't believe the haters. It is something the Star Wars new is good stuff.
Yes, I enjoyed Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, and I think there was a orchestrated effort on the part of the critics to kind of do a little hit job on that, kind of like other like Marvel movies and whatnot. That I think they really hate the current trend of comic book sci-fi movies being so popular and traditional film not being popular.
And I also think there is a healthy part of fandom that just go in thinking it's going to suck, and they want to say just this sucks. So
exactly. So that toxic fandom. So, but yeah, also check out Ghost with the Twin Peaks podcast to do with Zan Sprouse, where we talk about all things Twin Peaks and David Lynch. And if you want to dig back what Jesse and I have been doing earlier this year, check out Titan Talk, the Titans podcast. where we talk about Titans and Doom Patrol and all kinds of coolness there. So please check those out. Next time on the Fandom Zone, we're going to take a little. This is our last show of 2019, but we're going to be back in January, right around the middle of January, with DJ Nick returning once again to talk Crisis on Infinite Earths, parts 4 and 5, the Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow chapters, wrapping up the big Crisis on Infinite Earths CW event, the big crossover event, and that one's is going to be airing on TV on January 14th, 2020. So somewhere around that time afterwards, obviously. And I'm really looking forward to it. The first 3 parts were great, and we had a ball talking. We had a ball talking with Nick, and
yeah, that'll be fun.
Looking forward to wrapping this up. So, anything else, Jesse, before we sign off?
Well, I just want to wish everyone out there a wonderful remaining holiday season. I hope you guys are having a great time and a very happy new year. We know at least we've got a couple episodes of Fandom Zone coming in 2020, and I'm sure Charles and I will find time to talk some other stuff too. So for now, happy holidays, happy new year.
Exactly. I just want to echo what Jesse said. Happy holidays to everybody, and thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed our little Watchmen episode breakdown every week, and come on back for Crisis. It's going to be a lot of fun in January, and who knows what we'll be talking about after that, but I'm sure we'll find something to talk about because we just can't stay quiet. We can't shut up. So in that respect, thanks again, and we'll see you next time for episode 175 of the Fandom Zone podcast. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.